All right. Well, you remember, I think it was last week that I was reporting on how Citibank was getting getting fined, I'm sorry, by the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency for ineptitude and how it was underwriting its business practices and was fined a whole lot of money for this. And of course, the question I had to ask at the time was, shouldn't Citibank know what it's doing? And it really is even a huge fine or seemingly huge fine, which we know Citibank can pay, is that enough? When you have an established banking firm that doesn't know how to do its own job, doesn't know how to regulate itself, doesn't know how to remain in compliance, shouldn't we have more potent punishments and consequences for these organizations? Well, I'm not happy to report, but I'll simply say it. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency has also now fined Morgan Stanley $60 million for data protection mishaps. Apparently, it was decommissioning data center equipment and didn't protect was not in compliance, did not protect import-sensitive information. So it's been fined $60 million. And then we also have USAA is being required to pay an $85 million civil penalty because of its own deficiencies that led to violations of the Military Lending Act and the Civil Service Members Civil Relief Act. So here we have two more established financial organizations getting fined out the wazoo for utter ineptitude.
Again, it doesn't surprise me, but these large institutions, I've been told since by the corporate media and by the establishment. Now, they're run by reasonable people. They know what they're doing. We should trust them. But obviously, they don't know how to maintain their businesses. They don't know how to run their own businesses because they always have to be bailed out, which leads to me thinking maybe they should fail. Maybe we shouldn't be giving our hard-earned taxpaying money to these institutions that are designed to fail all the time.
Well, maybe they should be decommissioning the organization. If you can't decommission a data center appropriately, my question is, why should you be commissioned to do anything? Why should your organization be commissioned to do anything? This is not new stuff. As a matter of fact, recently we know that there was a demand for COBOL programmers because many banking institutions still use COBOL programmers, but what was happening was that unemployment agencies and other government agencies who were being overwhelmed due to claims were also using COBOL. So we know that they've been working with antiquated systems, older systems that may be reliable in some ways, but clearly are not up to snuff. And probably doing so they could say pad their bonuses every year. Just a thought on that one. But the point is that we as consumers are relying on these organizations to take care of our data, to manage their businesses appropriately, do appropriate due diligence and underwriting, and violation after violation continues to happen. These are not startup financial tech companies. These are established organizations, and this is the kind of service we get. And I think that slapping them on the wrist, slapping them on the wrist. Anyway,
sorry, I had to.
Slapping them on the wrist with a fine, even what seems to be a massive fine, isn't enough because they just pay it. We know that.
Yeah, they a lot of times they build in the fine into their cost structure, and I think that I think that you should take some of that back because I actually trust startup tech firms to have their security figured out more than I do a bank at this point. Because what are the new startups do? They have a guy that actually knows what he's doing. They design the system using modern safeguards, and then they make it work. Versus a coding system that's I think you've talked about this before, all their techs are retired because it's so old.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind is that with the financial tech companies, and I've spoken harshly about them because of their involvement in payday loans and that sort of thing, but what I will say is this, because they are in many cases startups, the people who are actually doing the security are not only up to date on these issues, but they're oftentimes stakeholders. They're not just drone employees. So they may have a real motivation to keep the tech going. Instead of bringing in somebody as a CIO or something like that, who hasn't actually programmed anything in a decade or two.